can get started, ma'am.
Thank you so much, chairpersons, colleagues and friends. At an outset, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak on this subject. They asked me, first of all, would you be speaking on this? This is a very common topic, you know. So they said, okay, fine, I don't mind. It's from pale to pink. So anemia in pregnancy is not only a developing country problem, but it's a global health problem. And it's quite common in India. And why is it so common? That's because of the nutritional deficiency and also because of the medications which people don't take it. It has an adverse maternal and the fetal outcome. And there's an increased incidence of anemia which leads to maternal morbidity, even mortality. Very important is preterm labor. Sometimes you don't find any cause for the preterm labor, but patient is just in preterm labor. And then if you go to recapitulate it, you might find that she was anemic either in the first trimester or in the second trimester. It does give rise to low birth weight babies, sepsis, iron deficiency in neonate also leads to cognitive and behavioral changes, and sometimes these persist even after iron repletion in the newborn. So it's very important to treat anemia, especially during pregnancy. WHO said 50% of anemic patients are found in developing countries, and India in National Health Survey also said almost about 54% in rural and 44% in urban. So if you go to see, there's not much of a difference between rural and urban. We always feel we at the urban level are better off. No, we are not better off at all. It's more or less equal in rural and urban area. ICMR is divided into mild, moderate and severe. I'm not going into the details of that, but incidence of mild is 13%. Moderate is maximum almost about 57% and severe is 12%. So if you go to see, mild and severe are more or less equal. Moderate is maximum as such. And anemia in pregnancy, if you go to see, there are little different in the levels. Hemoglobin less than 11 gram %, and hematocrit. When we see CBC report, you always look at the hemoglobin, WBC and platelet count. But you should always look at even the hematocrit, MCV, little bit even at MCHC and maybe RDW, and you could get little rough idea about whether it could be an iron deficiency anemia or megaloblastic or maybe thalassemia. Little bit you could get it. You know, what we look at it is only hemoglobin and platelet and WBC, but you should go little bit into the details. CBC, where hemoglobin is less than 11 gram % or hematocrit less than 33% in the first and the third trimester, whereas second trimester hemoglobin less than 10.5% and hematocrit less than 32% is labeled as an anemia. And despite proposed solution for treatment of anemia, many patients in developing countries suffer from anemia. And why is iron so important? Because you need iron even for protein, oxygen binding, always as for cells, function, ATP, mitochondrium, immune system, neurotransfer development, and even for the DNA as such. If you go to see maternal, I have already told you maternal morbidity and even maternal mortality. Also, if it is very severe as such, fetal, it leads to preterm labor, increased perinatal mortality. And breastfeeding, mind you, is encouraging and it's always little protective, but not if the mother is deficient. So now how do we replete this iron which is deficient or which is found in the mothers? So when we replete or when we improve this anemia, it decreases the morbidity, it benefits the pregnant women as such. The iron requirement during pregnancy increases. It is more so in the second and the third trimester, and that's because of the expanding growing fetus, and especially there is a little bit more blood loss at the time of C-section. So if iron deficiency anemia is treated, we are better off as such. Daily requirement of iron, mind you, from non-pregnant is hardly about 0.8, but when during pregnancy it's almost about 4 to 5 milligram per day in a pregnancy, and especially in the second and the third trimester. And that is the reason routinely it's a custom in our countries like developing countries that we give iron whether the patient is anemic or not anemic in the pregnant women. So if you go to see, this is in the second trimester and the third trimester when iron requirement increases as compared to that in the first trimester or in a non-pregnant women. And what does during anemia it happens, what you have an increase in the blood volume and the plasma volume. So even if there is a blood loss, the amount of hemoglobin does not drop, what we call it as an hemodilution or a physiological anemia during pregnancy, and these are the beneficial effects of the same. When an anemic patient comes, you investigate the patient, so you do CBC, urine routine, stool routine, I don't know whether we do it, but at least urine routine, liver function test, renal function test, and blood glucose as a part of routine. This is what I was trying to stress, that you not only look at the hemoglobin, but you look at the hematocrit, you look at, find out what exactly is the RDW as such, you also find out mean corpuscular volume, because if you find mean corpuscular volume on lesser side, it means cells are little small in size, emphasize they are microcytic, very likely it's an iron deficiency. If you find MCV on the higher side but hemoglobin on the lesser side, it is likely to be a megaloblastic anemia. So it's no point treating that patient with iron because the hemoglobin is on the lesser side. Maybe she is having megaloblastic. You have to give vitamin B12 and folic acid, and that's the reason I've put this report as such. Even RDW forms a very important role. If you get more of an RDW, it means it leads to what we call it as an iron deficiency anemia. RDW means it's a red cell distribution width as such. So when you find cells of a different sizes, the width of these red cells increases and you get more of an RDW in a patient with an iron deficiency anemia. MCV, I've already told you, microcytic, very likely it's an iron deficiency. Macrocytic is megaloblastic, and normocytic could be sometimes anemia of a chronic disease as such. So in case there is a reticulocytic count increase, that also you need to look, especially when you are treating the patient with an iron. And maybe after 2 to 3 weeks, when you try to do CBC, you try and find out whether retic count has increased. If retic count has increased, it means patient is responding to your therapy. If it is not increasing, it means they is not responding. You need to re-investigate the patient as such, and that's why retic count is often a little bit more important as such. Along with CBC, you need to do serum ferritin levels. Routinely, we may not be doing it, but suppose if you find a patient of an iron deficiency, it's better to do serum ferritin levels. These levels range for almost about 12 to almost 150 nanograms per ml, but anything which is less than 30, we call it as a low serum ferritin levels, then it is worthwhile giving iron to that patient, because sometimes you might land up having thalassaemic patient with normal serum ferritin level, but because the hemoglobin is less, you bombard her with iron and she could have what we call it as an excess of iron, and she could have some toxic side effects. So before you give iron to any patient, it is better either you get hemoglobin by electrophoresis done to rule out thalassemia, and at the same time, if feasibility, you always get a serum ferritin levels done. That's the least one can do it. So you find out what exactly is the iron reserve, and that way accordingly you can treat the anemia. There's one more hormone which is known as an hepcidin, which has come into the limelight so far as iron deficiency anemia is controlled. It controls the absorption of iron from the intestine as such. It mobilizes iron from the hepatic source, and it helps in recycling the iron, especially during in an anemic patient. So if you find low levels in a pregnant woman, it means that increase in the iron bioavailability. It absorbs more iron from wherever sources you give it to the patient as such, and level decreases as the pregnancy advances, and you find elevated levels in a patient who is obese or PIH or patient who has got GDM. So these are the patients, when you find increased hepcidin levels, they are likely to have an iron deficiency anemia. Coming to the oral iron, I'm not going into the details of the regular oral iron as such, but oral iron forms the basis of the treatment so far as iron deficiency, especially moderate to a mild iron deficiency anemia as such. We have what we call it as a new generation of oral irons which are now available in the market. They are with different technology. One is with ICIL, one is with sucrosomial. The main thing is that this oral iron doesn't get absorbed either into the stomach or into the duodenum, but it goes into the intestine as such, and the whole line of the intestine, there are M cells which are present, and oral iron gets absorbed through the intestine. So if you go to see bioavailability of this oral iron is much better as such, there are less of GI side effects, and hence the patient compliance is much better so far as the new iron is concerned. This is what it is. The old iron where it was getting absorbed in the duodenum, and the new iron which gets absorbed in the small intestine. New irons are available by different companies in the market. There are about 4 to 5 companies which are with the new irons which are available, and the basic salt is a ferric pyrophosphate salt, and it has some technology by which it breaks into the smaller particles and it gets absorbed by the intestine as such, and that's why the patient's compliance and GI side effect is much better. These are the different new oral irons or new generation of oral irons which are available. Lactoferritin is another oral iron which is coated with a lactoferritin, which is a red protein which is from the milk as such. So it's an iron binding protein as such. So that is the reason it retains iron in the stomach. It doesn't get destroyed, and that's how the availability of this oral iron increases as such. So this is about the oral iron. Now, so oral iron, the new generation, has got a higher GI absorption, high bioavailability, no metallic test, and it is very well tolerated. In case the oral iron patient does not respond very well, or patient is not compliant, or in case you want a little rapid increase in the hemoglobin level, you could go to what we call it as an parenteral iron as such. Of the parenteral iron, IV route is much more preferable as compared to intramuscular is out of question. In the IV route, we have 2 types of IV irons which are available. One is iron sucrose, which is still available in the market, and the second one is iron ferric acid or iron FCM, what we call it as a which is also very useful as such. Ferric carboxy or ferrohydroxy, ferric hydroxy carbohydrate or stabilized, it is a CHO or ferric oro for FCM, what we call it as a ferric FCM. It is very easily available in the market, and you need to give only one dose as such, and you give it as 1000 milligrams in 20 to 30 cc of normal saline. It has got very minimal side effect as such, and it brings about rise in the hemoglobin in almost about 2 to 3 weeks, and it gets rapidly cleared from the circulation, so there are no side effects as such. And this is one iron which is easily available. Only thing, price-wise it is little more, so there are some patients who may not be able to afford this iron of ferric carboxy maltose molecule as such, but otherwise this has got a very good result so far as an iron deficiency anemia is concerned. In fact, the hematologists have proposed that in case the price of this FCM comes down, then most of the anemia all over the India can be easily treated as such. So FCM versus intramuscular, FCM is always preferable as such. Erythropoietin was once upon a time available in the market, but nowadays we don't use it ever since we have this FCM which is available. Coming to a little bit on the folic acid forms an important component so far as an anemia is concerned, and it is important during pregnancy. We have what is available as a bioactive molecule of folic acid now available in the market as L-methylfolate, is available as 1 milligram and 5 milligram. It's a ready to use folic acid, so patients who have got MTHFR enzymatic activity as such, these are the patients where folic acid is not absorbed from the GI tract. These are the patients which get treated very well with L-methylfolate as such, and this is very easily, it is available in the market along with vitamin B12 and vitamin B6. There's one more molecule, one more bioactive molecule of folic acid known as quadrafolic acid, which is also available as 500 micrograms of folic acid, which is also available in the market. You can use it along with your rest of the preparation as such. In case patients having iron deficiency anemia, apart from giving the medicinal uses, you need to advise the patient, or you need to counsel the patient so far as the dietary changes are concerned, because she needs to make some changes in the diet. Just giving medicine is not sufficient. Patients who have got severe anemia, you need to give packed cells rather than the whole blood. Nowadays, gone are the days where you give whole blood to the patient. You give packed cells, bring the hemoglobin to almost about 7 to 8 gram%, and then you can switch over the patient to oral iron as such. So, and Government of India has initiated a nutritional anemia policy as such, whereby which it is being funded by UNICEF and it is evaluated by ICMR, whereby which the target population is pregnant women, lactating women and children, whereby which Government of India is giving iron to the patients free of charge, but the iron molecule which is given is ferrous sulfate as such, because that's the cheapest molecule. However, those patients who do not have access to the regular iron molecule as such, for these people at least whatever the government is supplying is much better than rather not taking as such. So coming to concluding the whole thing, anemia is a problem which is a gigantic of proportion as such. Screening is of primary importance and primary prevention as such. Iron-rich food needs to be stressed. Apart from giving medication to the patient, role of micronutrients is very important, and all pregnant women should be screened for the iron deficiency anemia at least once during pregnancy as such. Iron deficiency in the first trimester, you can give oral plus diet. In the second trimester, you can give oral as to start off with. In case patient does not respond, you can give IV iron. And in the third trimester, if it's an emergency, maybe you can give packed cells as such. If it's not that much of an emergency, you can give IV iron to the patient. But it is always better to treat anemia during antenatal rather than to leave the patients like that. So all anemias are not nutritional. They do not need or improve with the blood transfusion, which was a misconception as such. Cause of anemia is generally confirmed by the logical approach. If you look at the CBC report as such, and often it's the physician who is refractory rather than the patient as such. It's whenever you find any patients of an anemia, any patient with a preterm labor or with an IUGR, always go back and find out whether was she anemic, what was the hemoglobin in the first trimester, and you should be able to point it out as such. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.